David, hello, welcome. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Doug,
Hello.
how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Nice to see you.
Good to see you guys too, the A team here.
Is that in reference to us being a ragtag group of misfits that or is that more like we're A students instead of B students?
I'm seeing faces on this call that have no idea what you're referring to.
That's probably Kristen. Kristen, do you know the A team with Mr. T and what are some of the other Murdoch was one of them?
Yeah. She pities us fools, is what she's about to say.
Oh boy. Hey Todd, welcome. There's Susan. Hello, Susan.
Good afternoon. Nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you too, David. I said hello to Jonathan and Jack, and welcome Patricia. We'll do introductions here in a little bit as well. While we're waiting for folks to join, should we continue to talk about the other characters in the A team? David.
No, I will I will share something that I thought was amazing at the Santa Clara train station. I've been riding the ACE train since October 1st and have found it a wonderful experience in both directions, albeit not always on time. No offense to the ACE team in that case. But if you're familiar with the Doppler effect and what the Doppler effect is, as you stand at a train station and hear a train approaching that is not going to stop, the wind buildup on the front of the train makes the wind pressure makes such a sound you can physically feel it and hear it as it goes by. It's pretty amazing, Doppler effect. I saw it the other morning as one of the VTA trains came through heading south, actually blow water off of the tree next to the rail simply from the air pressure buildup on the front of the train.
That's cool.
In the morning light, if I had had a slow motion video camera, it would have been like one of those YouTube, million view things. It was so cool to see the physical manifestation of the air pressure buildup on the front of the train. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you guys. Very, very cool.
Well, just think when that train's going 170 miles an hour up and down the tracks.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Actually, what is a Caltrain, once it's electrified, is going to operate over 100 miles an hour, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's like 110, I thought, or 115. Pretty sure.
Depending on the section, like if there's not a lot of at grade crossing, they can go that speed.
Yeah.
Wow.
They can also have like a closer following distance too, but that's from PTC.
Right. I did see that they debuted the train yesterday, the new updated Caltrain.
Really nice.
At Diridon. Yeah. It's pretty slick, made in Swiss, or it's a Swiss designed train made in Idaho, I think.
Welcome to Train Talk.
I know.
You're
nerding out on trains.
It's an appropriate forum for it. I think I remember last year at Thanksgiving, Caltrain put out like a Twitter post that it was like a whole bunch of the different Bay Area trains. So it was like a Caltrain train, an ACE train, a BART train, an Amtrak train, all sitting around a dinner table. And it said, "Happy Thanksgiving from our family to yours." It really made me laugh.
That is great.
Okay, 404. I don't believe we have a jam-packed agenda today. We had one yesterday. I think we'll have a little bit of space. I'm giving some time for folks to join, which is also good because that creates more space for discussion. But we do want to present the material that we need to, but given it's 4:05, I think we'll get started. So we're going to jump in. A reminder that we are recording today's meeting. And hey, everybody, thanks for joining us again today to talk about VTA's BART Silicon Valley Phase 2 project. I'm Doug Moody, standing in once again today, and likely possibly for the last time, as facilitator while we continue to work to identify the right long-term facilitator for the CWGs. And Bernice is going to have some more to share about that, the ongoing work to bring on the next long-term facilitator during her presentation. Next slide, please. So today, we're going to start with some information from Erica. She's going to talk with you a little bit about the role of the BSV External Affairs team. And then following Erica, Bernice has an update of the overall VTA BSV Phase 2 project. And then following Bernice, we have Lindsay Kiner here with us with VTA's Transit-Oriented Development Team, and Rebecca Bustos with the City of Santa Clara. And they're here to provide you an update about the Santa Clara Station area plan effort. And then following that, Erica and Kristen are going to provide an update on BSV outreach and engagement efforts. This part of the meeting, the outreach and engagement part of the meeting, has an interactive survey component using a different platform. So if you have a smartphone or second screen available, it'd be helpful to have that at the ready to streamline that part of the meeting. If you don't, no big deal. We can take your feedback verbally or via the chat. But to make the interactive portion really engaging, to have that second device or second screen, be helpful to have that ready. At the end of the meeting, as always, we'll have space for the CWG member report outs. That is your time. But just a reminder that, you know, what we really want to hear from you. You can share whatever you want at that time, but we're really interested in how you've been sharing updates about the BSV project with your communities and what you've been hearing back from them, so we can be aware of, you know, the conversations that are out there and work together to successfully address the issues that are out there and deliver this project together. Then to close the meeting, I have some info for you about the next round of CWG meetings in February. Next slide, please. But before we get into the presentation part of the meetings, we'd like to hear from the CWG members. So would you please introduce yourselves just with your name and organization or the community you represent? We'll start with Anna, your chair, and then work our way on down the list. Although I don't see Anna here today, unless Anna, are you the 408 phone number? I'm gonna guess no. I don't see Christian either. I do see Todd. Todd, you want to say hello?
Yep. Hi, good afternoon. Todd Trickell with Hunter Storm. We own the property right next door to the VTA.
Cool,
And
thanks.
David Schoenwetter with Santa Clara University. I'm an Associate Vice President of Operations.
Thank you. Welcome, Todd and David. Jack, you're up.
Yeah, Jack Morash, South Bay Historic Railroad Society at the depot at Santa Clara train station. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. I don't see John. If there's anyone else from the Newhall Neighborhood Association, please pipe up. Jonathan, I see you here today. Want to say hi?
Yep. Hi, I'm Jonathan Evans. I'm the president of the Old Quad Residents Association and representing the OCRA.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Jonathan. I don't see Luke. And I don't see Ron, who could also both be on the phone. Who may I ask who is on the phone? Who's the 408 number?
It's probably Ace listening in.
Okay. If you're on the 408 number, you're muted. I'm going to assume you're not a CWG member. Next slide, please. So just a quick reminder about upcoming meetings. So today is the roughly quarterly November CWG meeting. The next one's in February. There's monthly VTA Board of Directors meetings where the BSE project is regularly discussed. They're monthly. Next one's in December, January, and February. And if there's other meetings related to the BSE project, Kristen will email that information about those out to the CWG group. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Erica to talk a little bit about the role of the BSV External Affairs team. Erica, over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Today I wanted to talk through what our team, who you all interact with, the External Affairs team role is on the project. We fall into two major categories: community outreach and stakeholder coordination. Our team is made up of transit planning and engineering professionals. On the community outreach side, our activities are driven by the construction outreach management plan that VTA has developed and will implement as environmental mitigation for this project. That includes the construction education outreach plan, the construction transportation management plan, and the emergency services coordination plan that we've talked to you all about here at the CWG. As part of the program, the External Affairs team manages public communications related to construction. We also support specific program efforts such as the Historic Building Monitoring and Investigation, Historic Building Investigation and Monitoring Program. And we lead coordination and facilitation of VTA hosted community meetings and other outreach activities and participate in tabling events and such. A major part of stakeholder coordination is integrating with the design team to incorporate your stakeholder community feedback into the project design. In addition, stakeholder coordination includes city and agency coordination with adjacent developers such as Hunter Storm, and managing the development of contract-specific construction transportation management plans, working with the contractor, the cities, and the stakeholders in the community is required in our environmental mitigation. Next slide. I've been working on this project in this role for the past 11 years, and I have my professional engineer's license. And just reiterating that our main focus is integrating with the design team and the engineering team to incorporate stakeholder feedback. So we engage with the general public and targeted stakeholders such as yourselves, the CWGs, to share project information and collect feedback and relay it back to the rest of the VTA's BART Silicon Valley team as we're integrated with the engineering design team to get the feedback incorporated in project design. So just wanted to make sure that you all were aware what we do exactly. I know we meet quite a bit, but just want to make sure that was clear, and happy to answer any questions. All right.
Thank you, Erica. Next slide, which is the intro to Bernice and the phase 2 update. Bernice, please take it away.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Wanted to first begin with an update on our efforts to bring on a facilitator for our community working groups. This was a request that was relayed to us a few months back, and we have been in discussions with potential facilitators. Following those discussions, we're looking to put together a final scope and then kind of negotiate some of the terms of that, and are planning to bring on the facilitator for the next series of meetings for the 2023 series. So we'll keep you updated on that, but we should have one in place for that February meeting. Our program status, wanted to give you a little bit of a kind of preview of sort of how we all work together. Erica kind of gave you a look at what the external affairs team, but there are several entities that are involved in leading the delivery of the program. And it is a combination of VTA. I and some of the others on this meeting work for VTA. As the owner of the project, we work in partnership with BART. They are very involved in reviewing all the designs and making sure that we're designing a project that they will be operating and maintaining. We have our program management team, and that is a joint venture of 2 entities, HNTB and WSP. And then we have a general engineering consultant, which is also another joint venture of Mott McDonald and GH Wong. Many of these individuals worked on the phase 1 project as well, either for their current consulting firm or through another mechanism. We are advancing design. We've been given the authority, while we're still finalizing the funding plan, to continue advancing design. And we're especially looking at the tunnel and the track interfaces. I'm sure we're gonna cover some of the tunneling analysis that was done recently in a couple more slides, but the tunnel and track work really is the largest and biggest contract. It's 65% of the overall project. So advancing this work is really critical in the overall schedule and cost for the program. We're right now reviewing contract packaging for the delivery methods. We currently have a progressive design build contract for the tunnel and track work and had plans for the other contracts to be design build, but we're looking based on the economy. We just actually had a little peer review on that and looking at what is the best way to package these together to get the highest amount of competition to really make sure we're getting the best bid prices possible from the prospective contractors. In February, we plan on issuing an RFP for a construction management team. So that is the one who overall, and I think on our next chart goes over like what their exact role is, but we can go to the next slide. This is our organization. There are 3 main entities sort of at the helm, and that is stakeholders, both in the general public in a sense, and then our key partnering stakeholders like the cities and other entities that we work closely with. VTA is the project owner, and then we have BART that we're working side by side with. We have the program management team, which I had given you, who's involved those 2 entities, and they are responsible for the project engineering, managing the contracts, project controls, that's like the cost and schedule and all of the reporting mechanisms. And then they're putting together those contract packages. We have the general engineering consultant. They are responsible for the design services. That's the actual designs of the project, and the design that will support during construction and all the plans and specifications. And then the construction management team will be responsible for doing inspection and testing of the structures and facilities once built. And they'll be doing the reporting and measuring progress. And then they'll be responsible for making sure everything's ready to hand it over to BART. Next slide, please. When we brought on the tunnel and track work contractor back in May, part of their first phase of work was to look at innovations. And we did present this at a former board meeting. Innovations that would really benefit the project overall, innovative ways to deliver things, more efficient ways to construct, and ultimately look at efficiencies related to costs. So we did things like space proofing, looked at some alternative means to ventilation, which could maybe result in reducing the number of ventilation facilities. One of the major ones, and I'll be showing you some diagrams, is looking at a side-by-side center platform through the entire 6-mile extension. That is not what was previously scoped or currently scoped until we make this change. Tunnel boring mechanism, and I have some diagrams of that at 28th Street, which really reduces the digging and some of the impacts at that area. And then just basic innovations regarding to the station, how it's laid out, and then how you get to and through the station. Next slide, please. We evaluated these innovations related to operations and maintenance. Those are like the long-term things that impact how much VTA will end up like paying BART. You know, we're going to be taking the fares that are generated in Santa Clara County. And then, as you know, it costs more to operate a system than usually fares will cover. So these operations and maintenance and safety implications of more efficient, it has long-term implications to overall savings. We looked at the passenger experience, you know, when they go through the station, how they get to the station, how they get up and down to the platforms and back into the fare gates and up to the street level. We looked at constructability, efficient methods, and how we can construct that with safety as a layer of that. And then overall looking at ways to improve both cost and schedule. When I mentioned this was the previous configuration in the single bore tunnel at the downtown station and Diridon station, the tracks were what's called a stack configuration, with one direction being on top of the other. And now with this proposed innovation, is you can see that you would board in the middle at a center platform and the trains would go on either side. This really makes it easier operationally. It's what BART has throughout their system. It's what they're more accustomed to. And then it's just easier for the passengers to be at the center platform. And it also allows for some enhanced connectivity to the tunnel. Next slide, please. This is the schedule for our current work on the tunnel and track work. As I mentioned, we awarded this contract in May. The contractor's been working on the innovations, programming services, and design services, refining the design. They started, we were at a pretty low level of design. They've been advancing design as they've worked on these innovations. Coming up at this December VTA board meeting, we have plans to get authorization for the general manager to get the funds to purchase the tunnel boring machine. It takes approximately 18 months. It'll be customized to the specific size of the tunnel. So it's a long lead item. And then in the spring, summer timeframe, we are planning on beginning some of the early works, which is like preparing some of the sites, preparing the site to actually launch the tunnel boring machine, getting materials into, most of the work will be around the Newhall Yard, San Jose, Santa Clara, close to where the west portal for the tunnel will be. The final design and heavy construction will be in the springtime of 2024. Next slide, please. So for the past, in concurrent, while we've been working with the innovations, there were some opportunities with those innovations to look at some efforts to refine the station design. We've been looking at different alternatives at the downtown and Diridon stations to enhance the passenger experience in how they move from the street down to the platform, access to the stations. And then in Santa Clara, we've been looking at that West Side Underground Concourse, and we will be reporting and presenting these items to the board on December 1st. Next slide, please. We had the exciting opportunity to have our future funder, the Federal Transit Administration, come to our project for a tour. We had representatives from Washington and our local regional office of FTA. We gave them an update on the project status, including cost and schedule and risk. We went through all that. And we also talked about our full funding grant agreement, and I'll have a little more information on that, I think, in about 2 slides. And they got to see where all the potential stations will be, where the potential transit-oriented development will be, and sort of the interconnectivity to the other rail services in VTA bus and light rail. Next slide, please. We also had a visit from California infrastructure advisor. This was a former LA mayor who was appointed by the governor to work with local, state, and federal leaders to maximize access to federal funding for priority projects. And the BART Silicon Valley Phase 2 project has been designated as a priority project in the region. So this was good to get this attention and really have somebody helping us advocate for this project. Next slide, please. As you know, in 2021, summer before last, the FTA did a risk assessment, and that's really, they took our cost and schedule, early cost and schedule projections based on our submittal to apply for funds, which was done at a very, very early level of design. And then they took that and they did kind of what if scenarios. What if the rate of inflation goes up? What if the tunnel boring machine takes longer? What if wages go up? They took our baseline cost and they added extra risk and contingency. We had a baseline of 6.9. They came back with a projection of 9.1 and a schedule of 2034. We are going to be using that for our funding plan, and we are going to seek funding to fund that amount, and actually possibly that amount plus some additional financing, just because the cost of inflation is extremely high right now. We will be bringing on an independent consultant to do our cost and schedule projection. That will be done in around the February timeframe. And then for the CP2 contract, as I mentioned, it's being done in phases. We awarded the first part. The second part, the contractor will actually give us an open book cost estimate for that second one. So we'll actually be able to base our cost estimates on more firm numbers at that point. Next slide, please. So as part of our funding plan, there was a surplus in the state funds, and 1.5 billion of that has been allocated to projects outside of Southern California, which includes Northern California. So MTC will recommend projects, and the projects that are vying for some of this funding are our Phase 2 extension, BART's core capacity, and Caltrain electrification. We are submitting a request. We've already been allocated $750 million from state funding in TIRSIP. And we are requesting an additional $750 million. And we're submitting that application. The opening, I think, is today, actually, or maybe it was yesterday. And we have till December 6th to get those in. But we are asking for support. I think some of you may have gotten a communication to submit support letters. As you see above, we have some competition for these funds. This 1.5 billion, the additional 750 million is like critical for us to close the funding plan and qualify for what is a big number of federal funds. So we have to show all the local and state funds for the feds to basically make their funding commitment. So this is a critical element. And Santa Clara County voters have voted 3 times to tax themselves. They are making a significant contribution. We are not going back to the county residents and voters. We are asking for the state and federal government to increase their contribution to the project. Next slide, please. At our last board meeting, November, there was a presentation by the APTA peer review regarding the long sort of discussion and conversations going on outside of the project, single bore versus twin bore. We, per direction from the board last May, brought on an independent peer review to look at the two environmentally analyzed configurations of single and twin bore. They presented their findings using all the analysis from 2017 and then taking into consideration some of the innovations that are proposed. So taking the previously analyzed but not cleared twin bore with the current single bore and incorporation of some of the potential innovations. And they made the determination that this single bore is feasible, appropriate, safe, and it has some benefits related to reduced above ground impacts, as well as risk. Utilities are some of the largest risks with the project. Because we're going to go deeper under the utilities, it has less risk related to utility relocations. So they have basically given us the thumbs up, and we're proceeding with the single bore. And honestly, at this point, what was stated very clearly was if we were to switch back to twin bore without it having any definitive benefits, we would incur a significant delay and significant cost increase. So that was the determination. I had mentioned to you, we are seeking a significant amount of federal funding. We've submitted to the FTA. Our previous ask was going to be around in the 2 billion range. We were limited to 25% through our current funding program of the expedited pilot program. We're going to, we've made a request and hope to go back into the New Starts program. It's the funding program we used for phase 1. The benefit of that is there is not a 25% cap on funding. We will be making an ask of approximately double of that for the federal contribution. We are requesting concurrently what's called a letter of no prejudice, or we've written a letter of no prejudice, and basically that gives us permission as we enter this new funding program to continue on incur expenses for things like the tunnel boring machine. Plan for getting our full funding grant agreement is fairly close to the prior schedule, maybe like a month or two out more. Originally in the EPD, we were going to have time to advance and get the more cost firm bids from the contractors. So we're looking at October of 2023, and now we're looking at a FFGA sometime early 2024.
Cool.
I am going to hand it over to Lindsay now. So thank you. And does anyone have any questions? I don't know if you want to do that now or
yeah,
Doug,
yes,
okay.
please. And Jonathan has had his hand up for a little bit. So Jonathan,
I didn't see that. But
over to you. Well, I let him know in the chat that you just had a couple slides left, so it's all good.
I'm too focused on my slides.
I figured I'd just wait till you had a break. The first question I actually had was, you mentioned like there's letters of support. Where would somebody go to send letters of support for the project?
Well, Kristen can send you the template. We'd be happy to send you a template, and then you can customize it. It's just to kind of help you so you don't have to work too hard at doing that. And if you send it back to us, I think our plans are to submit the package on December 2nd, but we want to get all the letters together and have them be attached to our application for the 750 total of 1.5.
Yeah.
So would greatly appreciate that, Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan, I can send you an email.
Okay. And one other question, and I had read a news article that was talking about the peer review summary, and there was mention in there that as part of that summary, when just talking about single versus dual bore, that there was some effort that was done on the single bore previously, and that may not have been considered. Was that considered as part of the peer review summary?
Say that again. There was effort on the single bore or on the twin bore?
On the twin bore. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So okay, back way early when I first started on this project, like way back when, okay, like back in 2005, we had a 16-mile project and we were advancing design. And part of that 16-mile project was the 5-mile tunnel, and we were looking at twin bore. And there were some designs that were advanced, but we took that design and analyzed it. But for that older twin bore that I think the latest update was 2007 or something, like it would have to significantly be updated for codes and such. So yes, there was design on twin bore that back then might have been slightly more advanced than what we currently have on single bore, but it is based on old codes, old plans, old environmental requirements. So it would have to be significantly updated. And that was what the rationale was. Like, if we were to go back to twin bore without any perceived real like benefits, because the single bore didn't show really any detriments, right? That going and pursuing anything with twin bore at this point, you can't just dust off the old plans. It would be an additional 2 to 3 years of work.
Okay. Yeah. I think it was like the Mercury News survey report. It was like 65% complete in 2018. So maybe there's something wrong then. Maybe the articles.
No. It was at that point. But what I'm saying, that was a long. Those are old designs based on old codes, on old environmental requirements, on old property right assessments. So all of that would have to be updated, which would take another 2 or 3 years. It was at 65% design, a decade ago.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah. Appreciate it.
And are there any other questions or comments for Bernice before we move on to Lindsay and Rebecca? Okay, don't see anything in chat. No hands raised. Don't hear anyone chiming in. So we're going to cut over to the Santa Clara Station Area Plan. Lindsay and Rebecca, over to you.
Thanks. I'm going to kick it off and then I'll turn it over to Lindsay. But my name is Rebecca Bustos. I'm a principal planner with the city of Santa Clara. And I'm going to be overseeing this project on the city side. That we do intend this to be a joint venture between Santa Clara and VTA. So the purpose of the plan, or our intention, is to establish a community-based vision to shape what we intend to be a very vibrant transit hub. The station area was identified as a near-term focus area in the general plan, which was adopted in 2010. The general plan identifies several focus areas to support changes in land use and enhance community identity throughout the city. The station area focus area will serve as a gateway to the city of Santa Clara, improve the city's economic base with expanded office, hotel, and retail uses. And we also want to maximize opportunities for residential development. The plan will also provide guidelines for improved pedestrian, bicycle, and transit connections. So the main project goals are to promote that multimodal transportation and connectivity, and then increase the housing stock in the city. Next slide, please. So here is a map of the plan area. It's about 244 acres. The western edge is bordered by some of our established neighborhoods, including the Old Quad in Santa Clara, and then the Newhall neighborhood in San Jose, as well as Santa Clara University. And then the airport forms the northern and eastern boundaries. Much of the station area is currently zoned industrial, so we are looking to make a shift with this plan. So you can see we have listed all of the existing transit services. So we have Caltrain, Capital Corridor, ACE, VTA, and then as well as the future transit services that are going to be serving this area, which we really want to capitalize on. So that's BART Phase 2, as well as the new Hall Yard. So I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay. Yes, for our next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Kiner. I am the TOC project manager with the VTA TOD group. And yeah, excited to be here. So I'm going to start by talking about our funding. So we're really fortunate for this project to have 2 funding sources that will support this joint effort between the City of Santa Clara and VTA. So the first is an VTA TOD, and that's Transit Oriented Development Pilot Grant that was awarded to VTA in 2020. And we are directing $500,000 of this grant to the station area plan. And the purpose of this grant really fits the project well because it's to provide funding to integrate land use and transportation along new fixed guideway network. So in this case, the new fixed guideway is the BART Phase 2 project, and the terminus station of that project is Santa Clara. So it fits well. And then also, VTA was awarded an MTC grant it's part of the One Bay Area Grant Program, the second round of often called OBAG 2 for priority development areas in 2021. This grant has a similar purpose in that it's to link regional and local planning, also to integrate land use and transportation, and also is linked to the Plan Bay Area regional planning effort, thus the One Bay Area Grant Program. So that is the amount of $400,000. So that brings our total budget for this project up to $900,000. And you may be curious why VTA TOD is involved in this effort. It is a city planning effort, but as property owners in the station area and also the agency responsible for BART Phase 2, VTA is committed to working in partnership with Santa Clara on the vision that Rebecca talked about in the first slide for the station area plan. And the VTA TOD group is specifically committed to bringing transit-oriented communities to the station area. And if you're curious about our TOC program, you can check out our TOC guidelines on VTA.org. And so what does that mean for the project? So administratively, the contract for the project will be procured and managed by VTA for FTA compliance reasons and grant administration purposes. But City of Santa Clara staff will really be doing the day-to-day management of the project, and also which includes overseeing the yet to be selected consultant. So next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in the scope. So what are we going to do? So we've got, I'd say this is similar in look and feel to other specific plans that the city's done. And if you're curious, there's quite a few that have been finished and quite a few that are in process. And also we'll talk a little bit about timing on the next slide, but essentially we're looking at a 30-month timeline from start to finish in terms of bringing the consultant on board. And so we'll have just a basic project initiation and management task, which will run throughout the course of the project in terms of keeping the team integrated and managing meetings and invoicing and stuff. And then we'll have a task specifically dedicated to community task force engagement. We'll have an existing conditions analysis. We'll also do an opportunities, constraints, and economic analysis, really understand what are we looking to bring here? What are we lacking in the station area to really bring about the vision and to bring about transit-oriented communities around the station? We'll do a vision plan, which as part of the vision plan, there will be a lot of community workshops and engagement. We really want to integrate the community in developing this vision. And then we'll develop alternatives that will come from that vision. The various land use mixes that we want to try and density mixes that we want to try to play out and see what they look like as we move into CEQA. And then we'll have a draft station area specific plan, which will be the plan itself, which will be, chapter by chapter. Again, if you're not familiar with what that might look like, you can look at some of the more recent specific plans the city has done to get a feel for that. And also we'll do a traditional transportation impact analysis and parking analysis to understand impacts to intersections in terms of motorized vehicles, and then impacts also for multimodal, bikes, pedestrians, understanding delays, access, timing, all that. Infrastructure financing. So the plan will be proposing a lot of new resources and development around the station area. So then how are we going to pay for that? That's important, right? So we're going to do infrastructure financing, understand, those alternatives I spoke about. What's the price tag on that? What do we need? Sewer, water, power, what sort of infrastructure needs to be coming into that area, which already is developed, but currently a lot of the zoning around there, as we know, is some of it's industrial. So, bringing that up to what would be needed to support that area. And then CEQA clearance, we will do CEQA in tandem, which is the city's typical way of doing specific plans, which is good because by the time we bring it to Planning Commission and City Council, we'll have the CEQA done. We will be doing study sessions with both the City Council and the Planning Commission throughout the project. It's not like we're going to wait till the end and just do a study session. Then we'll be doing study sessions throughout, so that really the elected officials and representatives of the community will really understand what our vision is, how that's developing, and how that's really getting us to the end product, which is really important. So that's an overview of that. And I think we can move on to the next slide, Kristen, thanks. And this is just our timeline. So you may not know, but a lot of stuff in the background with grants to get things off the ground. So it's really exciting for us to actually start the RFP process to select our consultant team. That will be starting in Q1 of next year, which is just right around the corner. We will also be doing once the RFP is released, we'll do consultant interviews shortly after that when the responses come in, and then we'll move into negotiation and selection and awarding of the contract through Q2. So, negotiations can take some time, and then we officially will issue that award of contract when that's come to a close. We hope to kick off the project in the spring. Like I said, it's about a 30-month timeline, 2.5 years or so to get us to project wrap up. And so we'd see that happening by summer 2025. And yeah, I think that's it for us in terms of the timeline. And I think we can move into Q&A. Just wanted to point out something cool that I found. I'm sure some of you could appreciate this. The old depot, here's a picture of it. In 1912, you've got a horse and buggy, very modern for those times. And you can see there's, just dirt road around that. And, the structure as it stands today here. And you can see what the depot looks like with the right of way right there for Caltrain and other commuter rail providers. So just wanted to point that out and thought that was just a cool kind of perspective thing to share with the group. And Rebecca and I are available for questions. If it's something we cannot answer, we will get back to you. And Doug is going to moderate that, I think.
It sounds good. And thank you for the presentation, Lindsay and Rebecca. I'll also say that we learned that Anna has been with us. She was the 408 number. And I think you're having some connectivity issues. So I don't know you'll even be able to unmute yourself, but Anna is here and listening. And David, I see your hand up. Anna, you came off mute. Want to say hi, please do.
Hi, everybody. I've been listening. Great presentation. Just problem with the Wi-Fi here at work. Sorry about that.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. David, you're up.
Two quick items. The first one is for Rebecca. I was asked by the Santa Clara University to be part of a downtown task force, and I was just trying to figure out how does it connect to the series of events that Lindsay just briefed, or looking forward to reaching out, Rebecca, to show me how that role connects with all of this. And I think the membership had to go to the city council on the 15th. So just waiting to hear back from you and excited to help.
Sure. So just so you know, the council hearing was pushed back just due to agenda stuff until December 6th. So
okay,
we're still waiting on that. And then per the timeline, we're just anticipating task force meetings throughout the process.
Got it.
So yes, I'll be in touch on that.
Very good. That's good, Doug. That's all I had.
Thank you, David. Jonathan, I see your hand is up.
Yep, I just wanted to say I'm excited that that this is going forward, and looking forward to participate in the process.
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Any other questions or comments for Lindsay or Rebecca? I don't see any hands.
Looks like you got a comment in the chat.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
something in the chat.
Yep.
About housing capacity.
Turn that off.
Is there a rough estimate on the housing capacity of the Santa Clara Station area plan? And we'll work on answering your other question in the chat, Kenneth. But that's the question for Lindsay and Rebecca. Is there a rough estimate on the housing capacity in the plan area?
Rebecca, I don't know if that's something. I mean, what I can say is the existing conditions will definitely take stock. But Rebecca, I don't know if you have. I mean,
No,
yeah.
I don't think we have a number at this point.
Yeah. So I think step one is really getting an inventory of housing, including affordable housing, and understanding, what sites we have and all that. So, but I think that's part of the process of developing the plan, right? If you look at some of the completed specific area plans, that's part of like the alternatives and what's finally selected as what the final plan is. So good question to be answered by the study.
Cool. Thank you. And I see an iPhone. I believe that's Mary. Mary, do you have a question or comment for Lindsay and Rebecca?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
The question I'm asking is, did I hear you say that you're working with reclaiming our downtown on the, or you're working with the downtown people on the connectivity of your project to the new downtown? Hello?
Did you say that, Lindsay?
I don't think so. I think there's a question about how this project relates to
the new downtown.
The downtown precise plan, is that?
Yes. And the form-based code. Did I hear you say, did I or did I not hear you say that you're working with the downtown people so that there is a connectivity with what you're doing and the new downtown?
Specifically, but we are intending to have a member of Reclaiming Our Downtown on the task force that's going forward to council on December the 6th. I believe Dan's name was put forth.
Okay.
And Mary,
okay.
I think it's important. I think in general, when we do the visioning and stuff, if we go back to the map, I don't know which slide was that, like 2. Okay, yeah. So I mean, the two focus areas are very close together, and obviously having connectivity from downtown to the station is critical. West Side Station access and getting to it. So I think that they can't exist in a vacuum, right? So having folks on the task force under, the specific downtown specific plan is further ahead. It's been going for a few years now, right? But we want to be integrating what they're doing with what we are doing in terms of like multimodal connectivity and just understanding how the two specific plans relate. So that's definitely part and parcel, I think, to kind of the overall general plan and the focus areas, which Rebecca is more familiar with than I am, but there will be coordination for sure, and just understanding how those two areas relate and all that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Mary, is your question answered?
Yes, no, she answered my question perfectly. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments for Lindsay or Rebecca on the Santa Clara Station area plan? Great. So moving on to the next portion of the meeting, which is Erica and Kristen on outreach and engagement. And Erica and Kristen, before you dig into your slides, Kenneth has a question in the chat about if will there be an alert put out when the materials from this meeting are posted on the website? And maybe if you could answer that before you go into the slides.
Yes, I can email out the CWG members and let them know.
Because Kenneth is not a CWG member, right? So would that include is there a larger list that Kenneth is included on where he'd get an alert?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Santa Clara list.
Cool. So there is the answer. And over to you two for your update on outreach and engagement.
Great, thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, VTA has developed and is implementing the construction outreach management program to meet our environmental commitments. The purpose of the COMP, as we call it, is to minimize and reduce construction-related transportation impacts to the extent feasible on the community and inform the public and stakeholders of the construction schedule and associated activities. The COMP includes the 3 plans shown here that I mentioned earlier and that we've discussed in the past here at the CWG meetings. Next slide. Today I wanted to give a little update or a deeper dive into the CTMP. The purpose of the CTMP is to minimize and reduce to the extent possible construction-related transportation impacts to all modes during construction. The plan will identify construction details, which will create disruptions based on contractors' selected means and methods, and will identify how and when to communicate those disruptions to affected stakeholders in the community, working hand in hand with the construction education and outreach plan to communicate that. The plans, the construction transportation management plan will also establish a basis for developing traffic control plans as they're needed. The CTMP will not impede construction to eliminate travel and access disruptions or eliminate all construction-related impacts from the project. Next slide. A reminder that I presented here before and that we developed the draft construction transportation management plan that we've talked through over the past couple of years, which is overarching guidance and included in all contract packages. As the contractors come on board, we will be developing contract package specific CTMPs that will be developed by each contract. As Bernice mentioned earlier, and we've talked about the last few times, the contractor for the tunnel and track work contract, CWG Trailer, is now on board. And we are kicking off the development of the first CP2 specific CTMP, CP2 meaning contract package 2. So I wanted to walk through the development process, the engagement process of for these documents. So we'll have regular coordination meetings between the contractor, VTA, and the city. We had kickoff meetings this week with both cities. In addition, there'll be regular coordination with adjacent businesses and institutions throughout the development to provide input. And we'll also be hosting a public meeting or multiple meetings, depending on the extent of the work areas covered in each construction transportation management plan, to give the community an opportunity to provide input on the draft contract specific CTMPs before they're finalized. Next slide. The first CP2 specific CTMP will be for early works activity at the West Portal, denoted as number 1 on the graphic. They're preparing VTA owned property, the new haul yard, to prepare to launch the tunnel boring machine. And so they're doing grading of the site and support of excavation to build the tunnel portal and such. The work they anticipate to begin in the spring sometime. So we'll keep you updated and let you know when the public meeting will be. So this first CTMP, it will be for the early works in preparation for major construction at the West Portal. And at this time, KST knows, the contractor, CWG Trailer, knows that they're planning for a second early works CTMP to cover the remaining work areas, being downtown, Diridon, 28th Street, and the East Portal in a second CTMP that they hope to begin working on sometime in the summer next year. In addition, there'll be additional CTMPs for major construction, but we don't know yet how those will be broken down or to the extent of what those will cover. But wanted to give you all an update as we have moved forward on this progressed this some, and we'll continue to keep you updated. Any questions on this before I turn it over to Kristen to talk about our recent engagement?
All right, well, I guess I'll take it away. So just wanted to give you a brief summary of our 2022 engagement. We were able to attend 14 different events along our station area and project alignment, and including our VTA community social that was held at our VTA block near downtown San Jose Station, right next to the customer service center. So thank you for those of you who came out and supported us. And then within the Santa Clara Station area, we were able to attend 3 major events and were able to engage around 700 plus people and for 1,400 plus people around our station areas and along the alignment. So specifically within Santa Clara, we had the opportunity of tabling and engaging and getting feedback from the members of the public at the Santa Clara Farmers Market in August, as well as the Santa Clara Art and Wine Festival in September for 2 days, and then also our Santa Clara Parade of Champions. So thank you for those of you who came out or allowed us to take part and participate and join with you in being able to engage the community in those events. So we just wanted to take a moment to have a poll to see what are other community engagement events or organizations and agencies and groups that we should be engaging with further as we ramp up for construction or just down the line as we prepare for future tabling events. So if you want to take out your smartphone or log on to www.menti.com on your laptop, you can scan the QR code here, and then we can answer these questions in the poll format. I'm just going to switch screen share and switch over to Mentimeter. And I'll also share the link to that in the chat as well. Sorry, share the same one again. All right, let me just share this in the chat with you folks. Feel free to log on your computer or your phone. And then again, the code is listed up here, which I can also enter into the chat for you all. So our first question is just what other public engagement events should we be participating in? And again, this doesn't have to be limited to Santa Clara Station area. It can be anywhere along the alignment. Maybe it's something that's close to home to you, or even just somewhere in the South Bay throughout the year. We're looking for any sort of feedback, and we'll definitely look further into it. And if you're having technical difficulties, feel free to also just enter it in the chat or raise your hand and share it verbally. We'd love to hear it and jot it down. So I'll give you a few minutes to just enter in your answers before we move on to the next. And again, if there's among those 3 major events that we went to for Santa Clara, if there's ones that you think we should definitely go to again, feel free to enter that again in Mentimeter as well. All right, so seeing that that's settling out, thank you for those of you who provided feedback. We'll definitely look into all of those options. And then let me transition to the next one. So our next question is, what other community organizations, agencies, associations, or different groups should we be engaging further as well? So again, same applies. Doesn't have to be limited to the Santa Clara Station area, anywhere along the alignment or within the South Bay that you think would greatly be impacted or benefit from hearing more about our project.
Is this in addition to groups such that are participating in the CWG?
Yes, yeah. So understanding that we've had our CWG since 2015, and a lot has happened since then, we want to just make sure that if there's other groups and organizations that we should also be engaging and reaching out to, that we keep them in the loop as well. And again, feel free to utilize the chat or verbally share. Thank you, Anna, for entering an answer in the chat.
And I think your question we could also take as a comment, right? To consider including the earthquakes organization.
Just to clarify, the earthquakes are part of the CWG and we do coordinate with them. We will continue to. So thank you for flagging that, but we're already looped in with them. Just want to make sure everyone's aware.
Awesome. Well, seeing the answers start to settle out, again, feel free to email me any of your answers to either of these questions. We're not just limited to, this meeting by any means. So if there's certain events or groups and organizations that you'd love for us to engage with, definitely feel free to reach out to me through email and we can look into it further.
Would you be willing to send out this list of questions for offline discussion?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. All right, and I will share the presentation again and pass it back to you, Doug.
Cool. Thank you, Kristen, and thank you, Erica. This is the CWG member report back in the meeting, which is, as I said earlier, your time. We really want to hear how you've been sharing things about the BSB project with your communities and what you've been hearing back, right? So we can be aware of those, address and deliver the project successfully together. So if you want to share that, we definitely love to hear that. But if you have other things you'd like to share to the group, share with the group or ask, this is your time. So CWG members, if you have something you'd like to say, please put up your hand or chime on in. Jack, I see a thumbs up. I don't know if that was intended to be a hand raise.
Yeah, I meant to be a hand raise. I just wanted to thank Lindsay for that great picture of the depot down there. That was beautiful. Thank you. Also wanted to mention that coming up on the first weekend of December, December 3rd, Caltrain's doing their annual Christmas train, and they'll be at the Santa Clara depot about 8 o'clock, and the depot will be open from 6 to 9. So please come down and check us out. We'll have the model trains running, and everybody loves it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack. Jonathan.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I've been sharing the plans with our organization and getting feedback. One thing I think it got mentioned, but I don't know if there was an update, was on the west side connectivity. Was there an update for that? Because I know many of our members are interested in seeing what we can do to make sure that that change or whatever that succeeds as part of the project.
Erica, you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, Bernie's presented. So we're sharing the concept with the board, the VTA board, at the December meeting. So that's the latest that Bernie's covered in her presentation. As we shared it here, and we're sharing it with the board as part of the station refinement update in December.
Are there additional refinements or anything that we can share with the community before the?
Nope, it's the same meeting? As what you've seen already. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no additional.
No changes to that. Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, just to clarify, so because there's updates on other station refinements, so that was the downtown and Dearborn, so that's why I referenced as part of the station refinements update. So there's not additional changes to the Santa Clara one.
Thanks, Erica. Anything else from other CWG members?
I just wanted to say I did send an email over to Kristen earlier today to just let her know, plus a flyer about what's happening this weekend with our downtown process with the plan and everything. And I know that's kind of probably can't fit it into your schedule for outreach, but it's an opportunity if you can make it work.
Yeah, and I will chime in. As many of you probably have read, TikTok is moving the North American headquarters onto our campus at Coleman Highline, 650,000 square feet, which we're certainly excited about. And one of the reasons why they did select our campus is because of the connectivity to obviously Caltrain and also the future BART station. So kudos to this team, and looking forward to making this thing happen. So.
That's awesome. I'm also addicted to TikTok, and I'm trying to find a good joke, but
Yeah,
I don't have one. I don't have
I'm sure you'll come up with one here shortly.
I did a little dance.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, maybe we can have a TikTok dance for the BART project in the CWG group to commemorate the new tenant.
That would be fun.
Anything else from CWG members? Or not hearing anything from CWG members, you're still welcome to chime in. We got a little bit of time. If other folks would like to say anything, there's some space for you as well. Just put up your hand or chime on in. And seeing no hands, not hearing anyone, and seeing nothing in the chat, I think everyone's going to get a little bit of extra time back in their day, their evening, which I think is great, because we're in the holiday season as well. Some folks might have some events to go to this evening. You might appreciate getting off the call a little bit early. I know I have one that maybe I'll see some folks at, but I don't want to promote any individual organizations. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going, but hopefully I'll see you there. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night. We will see you around and in February at the next CWG meeting. Have a great one.
Sounds good. You the same. Thank you.
Bye all. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Yeah, happy holiday, everyone.